It is game week. We are T-minus like 20 hours. Let's talk about it. On Wisconsin, what are our keys to the game? What are we still a little nervous about? Is secondary depth an issue with the Mack waiver not being approved? Let's talk about the Buffalo game.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Buffalo tomorrow. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Let's bring Justin in. Mark's in the queue. We're gonna bring Mark in as well. If you're calling in, just let's enjoy this together. Justin, we're almost there.
Yeah, no kidding. It's been a long road to get here. Talk about having the worst possible scenario to be excited about your team when you hire the new coach, basically that everyone's wanted back in December. And then you have to wait until the season starts. And it's like, this is brutal. You're ready in December to start watching games. And you're like, all right, I have 8 months that I can sit here. I'm going to wait for something to happen.
We are almost there. Dylan says one more sleep. Let's bring Mark into the stream. Mark, what is going on, my friend?
I cannot wait till tomorrow.
Yes.
Neither can we.
Where are you calling from, Mark?
Waukesha.
Nice. We just had a show on the other day where someone had to pronounce Waukesha and out of theater. They crushed it. What are you most excited about? I want to start here. For anyone who calls in, anyone who's in the chat, I want to start here. What are you most excited about tomorrow?
A competent quarterback for once.
Yes.
No kidding.
How about you? You guys watched last night, Minnesota and Nebraska?
That was painful.
That was very painful.
Let me ask you guys this.
I hate having games that the announcers are trying to make lemonade out of lemons and touting the defense when it's like, no, these are just bad offenses. They're just bad. They're like shooting themselves in the foot. They're not really. Neither of them were really putting pressure on the defense. Neither of them had any real ability to stretch the field beyond 10 yards. And it's like, why are we putting this on a pedestal? This is just bad football. Does anyone believe that Ohio State would have been on that field last night, that they wouldn't have scored 50 on either one of those teams? And yeah, there's a talent differential, but it's like this. It wasn't because the defenses were that good. It was because the offenses were that bad.
I 100% agree. I love after the game, PJ Fleck is talking about the ferociousness of the Nebraska defense.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro.
Listen, they took a step in the right direction. I do think they were more competent.
They're better. Let's calm down. This is two inept offenses pillow fighting across the 50-yard line here.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, stay on the game tomorrow. What else are you excited about tomorrow? Is there anything that worries you tomorrow, Mark?
The defense. With Leonard, I don't think it's going to be a drop-off between him and Tressel. I don't know. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see how this plays out because there is a difference in philosophy between the two of them, and I'm really kind of anxious to see how different it looks, especially with the defensive line. I do think that there will be a little bit more shooting gaps and stuff like that. Now, how that plays out in terms of any pass rush will be interesting to see, but I think I'm really excited to see the secondary. I think that we're going to take a big step in the secondary in terms of what we're used to seeing against good receivers. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, one of the interesting things for me is I feel like Buffalo and Uncultured, by the way, Mark, Uncultured Barbarian, great, the greatest name on the Bad Black and Veteran community says, I too want to see competent quarterback play. So he's right there with you, Mark. One of the, I think, best parts about Buffalo is Buffalo has a real quarterback. So you're going to get a bit of a challenge there, a test. But all new receivers and all new defensive backs outside of Fuqua are really stalwart defensive backs. So the Badgers are going to come into this game, and I think you're going to be able to pick on an inexperienced Buffalo secondary. And on the defensive side, Buffalo's replacing their top 4 receivers, essentially. So I think it's going to give both of these receivers and defensive back groups for Wisconsin room to kind of get going a little bit without being – it's not going to be a huge challenge, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Mark, one more here. Final question on this one. Give me a score prediction for tomorrow's game.
Oh, God. 25-10.
Okay, I like it. Okay. The line is 27.5, unless that's moved, Justin. I don't know. But so that would have the Badgers covering. Listen, I could see 45-10.
Yeah. I mean, I have it at 42-10. It's roughly in the same ballpark. So I wouldn't be shocked. I think the defense will give up something. I think probably later in the game, but I think they're going to be really aggressive coming after Buffalo, and Buffalo's got a lot of new bodies at the skill positions. So it'll be interesting to see. I know they have returning running backs, but the wide receivers, they're all new guys. So it'll be interesting to see what their passing game looks like.
All right, Mark, really do appreciate it, man. We're going to do a reaction show after, so I hope you call back in.
I'll be there.
Well, I love it, man. On Wisconsin. Let's go. We got Cannon L coming in as well. Cannon.
What's going on?
We
My
ready?
Discord nemesis.
You two go back and forth in the Discord. I love it.
It's all right. Hey, Justin got me in the drawing though, so we're all good.
Yep. So
that's my veto card.
Gentlemen, this is coming from P. Leonard overrated. I say no. I know what people have said on this, that he struggled against. Here's where I would say Leonard as a talent acquirer, not very good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't think he had the horses to hold up against the better passing attacks, but I don't think Jim Leonard's overrated as a defensive coordinator. I would sell on that take, although I appreciate the unique insight.
I feel like he's a little like Lovie Smith in that when things are really good with him, like the defense, you look at it, like I'm talking NFL Lovie Smith when the Bears were actually good on defense, that he's a guy that you look at and you're like, wow, he really gets a lot out of his guys on defense. They're really hard to work the way down the field and they make you grind for it. And I feel like that's kind of like what we saw with Leonard, is you saw a guy who makes you work for pretty much everything, but wasn't necessarily like, there were games where the Bears would, when they dealt with somebody that was an above average quarterback or whatever, that they would struggle. Aaron Rodgers. But but just saying, that's the context I would look at it. And I think that's where this defense is a little different. This defense leans on athleticism and bodies, and Joe's out on the field a little bit more than what Leonard's defense did, which was a little more scheme oriented. And we can, as long as we have guys that make the right decisions, we're okay.
Saying Leonard is overrated to me is just not it. I'm selling that. Like,
yeah.
He didn't have the athletes to compete with Ohio State. That was the problem. That's always the problem that we've had. We didn't have the athletes on our side of the ball to compete. But his schemes were always good. His schemes were always good. He could always scheme against pretty much any team. It just always came down to we didn't have the athletes compete against Ohio State or Penn State. So I'm selling that 10 times out of 10. That I don't agree with that at all.
Recruiting was his weakness.
Yeah,
I think we'd agree with that.
Weakness. I agree.
Yeah, and Pete came back and said recruiting couldn't recruit. Victor Jones says Leonard doesn't recruit, so that's partly on him. Yeah, I thought he would recruit better, honestly, but I don't think it's in his DNA. But I think he's listen, we don't need to spend a ton of time on we got Buffalo tomorrow, but it's an interesting comment. I want to keep going here with the Buffalo. And by the way, the link that Justin put in the chat here, that's for anybody to jump in, call in, join the show if you want to, but just continue chatting if you don't want to join in on a call. We got a bunch of score predictions for tomorrow, guys. A lot of them in the Discord are like 70-10, 45-10, 52-3. Are we?
I think we're playing Akron or whoever it was back in 2016.
Listen, are we going to be disappointed? Is it going to be a disappointing game if we come out and we win 31-17?
From an offensive standpoint, I would be a little disappointed in that effort if that's what we put up. I think if this is as balanced as we expect it to be, there should be chunk plays to get in this offense. So that would tell me that there was probably some turnovers, or there was probably some inconsistency with our ability to execute.
This Buffalo team is replacing too many key pieces. Like you said, they're replacing 4 wide receivers. If our defense gives up over 20 points to the Buffalo team, I'm going to be a little worried, because that is a lot of production to replace. And I think our defense is supposed to be our stronger side of the ball in terms of what we have returning, because a lot of our defense, besides our pass rush, obviously, but everybody else on our defense is returning. So to me, if we don't score over 40 points or we give up more than 20 points, I'll be a little worried.
I love it. I'm going to take a quick break, so I want to come back after the break, get into a bunch of comments. Today is mostly a community show. We're going to get into a bunch of comments. Anybody else that wants to dial in, the link's on Twitter. It's in the show notes. Dial in. We're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show, but come back. I want to ping on the question Cannon just said. Justin, stronger unit on this team. Is it the defense or the offense? I think we talk about that next. Next, Justin, on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Gametime. We've talked about our upcoming trip to Ohio State. Justin, Rashid, myself, Cannon's going to be at Ohio State, that Ohio State game. We're going to get more and more people there. I can't wait for this. And we're going to use Gametime to get the best tickets, lowest prices, flash sales. It's all on Gametime, the fastest growing ticket app in the world, right? Instant pictures of where you're going to sit. Again, flash deals, last minute grabs. You don't have to plan months in ahead. And it's the lowest ticket price guarantee. You get 110% back if you find a cheaper ticket price somewhere else in the same seat, the same row. That's what Gametime is going to give you. It's going to give you that price guarantee that makes you feel good about what you're getting, a picture of where you're sitting so you know exactly the seats you're going to grab. Fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, I want to thank everybody tuning in. Let's get the boys back on here. I'm just so excited, and I do want to take a quick second before we continue this conversation to say thank you for being with us all off season. We are finally here. Whether you're live in the chat with us, whether you're watching this tomorrow, tonight, whatever it is almost game time, guys. We have made it. I'm excited. I can't wait. Let's talk about this question, though. Justin, what is the strength? Is the offense or defense better on this team?
So kind of like what we were talking about with Iowa and Wisconsin yesterday, I think that what I would say with this is that the floor is much higher for the defense. The ceiling is higher for the offense. I think that the offense has a chance to be, if everything clicks, has a chance to be one of the best units we've ever seen at Wisconsin. If the defense, I think the defense is going to, at the very least, be in the same ballpark as what we've seen in the past. So I feel pretty good about us overall on both sides of the ball. But I think if there's one I was going to bet on, if I was going to bet my life on one, it would be that the defense is going to come through and be as close to what last year was, or the last few years under Leonard.
Part of the reason why I said the defense is because I haven't seen our offense. I haven't seen it out there in a game actually going up against another defense. Mm-hmm. So I can't say that's our strength when I've never seen it. Oh, yeah. I mean, they could go out there and it could implode and they could struggle against that defense. And so not seeing it really just hurts my opinion on saying that would be our strength.
Well, I mean, the other part of it is that we don't know what we were shown in the spring game. Like, was that, I mean, it was obviously scripted. Like how it wasn't like a game of cat and mouse, like you'd expect in a football game where you're sitting there looking what's going to be played out there. They had certain plays they wanted to go out there and run. And that's what they went out there and ran. And the difference is that there was no adjustment and go out there and try to take advantage of the defense. It was, we want to run these plays because this is what we want to work on. And that's not how it's going to be in a football game. We would have seen Pauling out there a ton. We would have seen Braelon Allen running wild because he was grabbing chunks in that spring game, which would have changed the complexion of the passing game completely if that's the way we chose to do it. But that wasn't the point of the day. And people want to get hung up on that. And it's like, you can't really take anything from it because they showed us what they wanted to show us, not what they would actually do in a game.
I was just going to say, go ahead. Conversation. Yeah. I think the offense is going to be better. Comment on Clink had a good comment in here, kind of agreeing with both of you a little bit. Justin agreed the ceiling of the offense, but kind of agreeing with Cannon that we need to see it. I just look at the offense as that's where the biggest impact transfers are. Mm-hmm. I think the best player on the team is Braelon Allen. I think the young offensive line is going to come together. We talked ad nauseum about the depth at receiver. I just think that's going to be the better unit, quite frankly. And I still here's another way to phrase it. What grouping do you have the most questions about, offensively or defensively? For me, it's the defensive line. So if you look at it like that, that's just where I'm at. I'm not expecting the defense to be bad. We talked about this too, but for me, I have less questions offensively.
I would say that to me, cornerback depth is what I'm most concerned with. And I feel really comfortable with the two starters. I think Hallman's going to be solid. I think that Alex Smith has a chance to be potentially an all Big Ten type corner. And what I want to see is I think Forkerin is going to be a good player. I like him actually as a depth piece, but Docluna, I don't know. He's a true freshman. Like, he could be great. He could be a guy that has a couple of mistakes. When was the last time we had a true freshman corner come out and be a total stud? Probably Sojourner Charlton. Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably the last guy that we've had that came out there that wasn't mistake prone. And he was a very high technique guy. Now, Docluna has the pedigree. I mean, we're talking to a guy who was an All-American. So you have a kid who has some accolades to go along with it. But we need to see it regularly. And we haven't really seen him out on the field because he was in practices that were closed. So we really don't know a whole lot.
Let's get Logan in here too. Logan Couch in the queue. Logan been commenting on a lot of shows and always there. What's going on, Logan? Where are you calling from, my friend?
I'm calling from northern Wisconsin, and I just want to get your guys' take on what our offense you think can put up tomorrow against Buffalo.
Cannon, why don't you start, man? Well, actually, let's start with you, Logan. What are you expecting tomorrow offensively, and what would you be disappointed by?
What I'd be disappointed by is not starting out of the gates really hot, not getting an offensive rhythm. But what I really want to see is that dairy air raid that Phil Longo's been alluding to.
To me, I think we're going to come out, and I think we're going to set the tone with Braelon Allen. I think we're going to come out, and we're going to want to run the ball right away and to get that defense to collapse on Braelon. And then we're going to start slinging the rock around. And then Buffalo's going to be in a situation that they're like, what do we do? Do we let Braelon run down our throat the whole game, or do we get 60-yard bombs on us the whole game? So it's going to be one of those pick your poison type of games.
So my perspective on this is I don't think we have to come out hot. I think that this is the type of offense that you don't necessarily have to be clicking. You're capable of suddenly getting hot. Like, we've watched Ohio State come out and, the first couple of drives are a punt, and then suddenly they reel off 6 straight drives that are touchdowns. That's the difference that you're switching to with an offense like this, where it's going to be more boom or bust. But when you get rolling, it's going to look like everything is working, and you're going to be just like walking down the field. And that's where the difference is. So if we go the first quarter and we don't score, I'm not necessarily broken up, because we could end up halftime 28-0. So it's one of those things where it's like they're very capable of reeling off drives that are a minute and a half, 2 minutes, where we just start grabbing chunks. And I think that's what I want. I want to see some explosiveness that I haven't seen in a while, where we see, and I'm not talking about a 70-yard touchdown. I'm talking about, I want to see these 15, 20-yard chunks start getting grabbed on the field, where it's like, geez, that looked easy. And you're just like, how are these guys getting open like this? They're just kind of seem like they keep finding areas where no one's at. That's what I want to see.
I think that first drive tomorrow is going to be fascinating. Cannon kind of hit on it. I think they're going to give them a dose of Braelon, and they're going to put Buffalo in a really tough spot. And Buffalo's going to have to react. They're going to have to get a little heavy. And when that happens, I think Longo's going to just tear up that secondary. Again, first of all, not only is it, listen, it's not a Power 5 secondary. It's Buffalo, right? They have a stud at safety, but it is what it is. The talent level there is going to be pretty stark compared to what Wisconsin's going to roll out there. And it's also a Buffalo secondary that we talked about that's breaking in like 4 new faces. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to get heavy. They're going to roll the dice and say, we're going to stop Braelon, and Longo's going to tear him up. That's what I think happens. I think they adjust to Braelon and we counterpunch them. And at first half, I think we could put up, like Justin, you said, 28 points. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't shock me.
Now, how many passing yards do you think Tanner Mordecai can get tomorrow?
Ooh, that's good one.
The real question. I'm going just under 315 yards.
Okay, that's a good number, I think. I'm gonna go over 300. I think he'll break 300. I do think there's a point in this game it's possible where Tanner Mordecai's out of the game, like late third, early fourth quarter. That could be lock time. And so I'm gonna say like 315, 320. I think that's a great number, actually, Logan.
I think if I was going to throw an over-under on this, depending on the games played out, I'd probably put it at 250. And the reason is I think he could have 230 and just we could have a bunch of running plays that break, or he could end up having 320 and we could just have a bunch of pass plays that break. And it's just really going to be a matter of when they want to take him out of the game. So I think it's going to be hard to get a feel for this one, because so much of it's going to be dependent upon how the coaching staff wants to play this one out.
I say around 280. That's what I would say, around 280.
That's a good start. Like, that's the thing too. 280 is a good, like, people need to remember that this is Tanner Mordecai's playing in the Big Ten for the first time. Phil Longo's in Madison for the first time. There's multiple new weapons. I just it's not going to instantly come out and be quite as easy as I think people think it will be. Logan, we got to take a quick break for our friends of the show. Thank you so much for jumping on, man. What's your score?
I'll talk to you guys later. Go Badgers. We're kicking.
You jumping onto a post game?
Yep. Oh, I'll be there.
I love it, man. Thank you for dialing in, my friend.
Yep.
All right, look, we're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show. Come back, and it's going to be all your comments. Anything else Justin wants to throw in there, anything else Cannon wants to throw in there. But first, we're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show. Come back and talk about everything else that's Buffalo. Guys, we're almost there. We are almost there. If you haven't had a chance yet, subscribe to the Discord. Go check it out. That's where we have all these great discussions. Badger community, no politics. We do talk about beer, hunting, fishing, gaming, sports cards, no Gophers. It's free. You'll love it. Go check it out. Go check out the Discord. Jump in there. Let's get the guys back on. Let's take some comments, gentlemen. But first, while I find some comments that I want to throw up, I want to kick this back to you guys. Justin, you talked secondary depth. Obviously, Mack, we haven't even talked about Michael Mack, the Air Force transfers waiver got denied. Thoughts on that? A, thoughts on, are you upset with the NCAA? And B, how do you think that impacts the team?
I'm not upset with it because if you look at it by the letter of the law, they made the right decision on this. He went into the portal after the open windows. And you're kind of banking on they let everyone else kind of do it before. So they're going to let him do it. The defense for that. So the way I look at it is like, unless you have a really good excuse as to why you didn't jump into the portal earlier, I really can't argue them doing it. So I like Docluna. Like I know I say that I'm concerned about depth. It's because I don't know for sure. I think my gut instinct is that he's going to actually play out really well this year, and I actually think he'll be a starter next year. If one of the new bodies that comes in doesn't push him out, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings. But I think that it stinks for Mac, but I get it. It makes sense.
Justin stole my entire point. I agree. That was exactly what I was going to say. I agree. I think they made the right decision. I think if he entered the portal after the window, so asking them to let him in and breaking the law would basically have made any other transfer that put their letter in or their appeal in, they would have to accept all of those too. So I think they got it correct. I'm not upset about it.
You know, here's the thing too. If Mac had gamed the system, like some athletes game the system and they try to say, well, I'm transferring because of this.
Family issues or whatever.
He didn't game the system, which I respect, but it also means that you're probably not going to get that waiver approved because it did come in late. Here's the thing that worries me a little bit, gentlemen. And by the way, Jamie Conley says, so stoked. Let's go Big Red on Wisconsin. We got a lot of Reed Gramicki says, woohoo, go Luke Fickell. Bucky, so stoked. There's a lot of excitement here. We got some questions we want to get into, but here's the one spot with this that worries me a tiny bit. And it's not for Buffalo guys. Like we could roll out Rajiv and Justin as our safeties in Buffalo and win that game. But
I mean,
I don't know about that one now.
You might be maybe at linebacker. I might be able to get away with. You can hide me with someone.
We put you in the box. You'd be an in the box safety, Justin. You'd be fine.
He's Jamal Adams. He's Jamal Adams.
Yeah, you'd be in the dollar package. You'd be the.
You might have to start me in their backfield to be.
But here's where it worries me a tiny bit. Like Luke Fickell and Tressel, they went and got Mack because they don't listen. This is what it is. They don't feel great about the depth at cornerback this year. That's why you go get a transfer. Now that doesn't mean there's huge holes there, but Mack has more time next year. He's going to get lost a little bit in all the new talent coming in at cornerback. The recruiting is picking up there. I think they brought Mack in this year because this year they know an injury at cornerback could really hurt him, and Mack was a Band-Aid for this year.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's exactly what they were like. Well, let's take a shot at it. If it works out, we got a guy who's going to be out there. Listen, I don't think that they view Docluna as a guy that can't do it. I think they don't want to have to find out if he can't, because I think they do have a high aspirations this season, and they don't want to have to worry about putting too much pressure on somebody who's not ready for prime time. What I will say is, yes, I agree with you completely. I'm a little afraid of these guys that transferred in, what's going to happen with some of the high floor guys that are coming in. there are some studs. I think Agard has a chance to be the slot corner right off the bat. I think that if Lucas really gets it together, he's got a chance to challenge the two deep. So there's going to be guys that I think are talented enough to start pushing right away. And it'll be really interesting. And I think most of them are probably early enrollees. I know Agard is.
I think Harper is too.
I agree and disagree with you guys a little bit. So I think they did want to get Mack because I think they wanted Mack to come in and, add depth or potentially start. But I'm super high on Mack. I don't think he's going to get lost in the talent next year. I think he'll be in that 1-2 deep. I think he could potentially start next year or be, a solid key backup. I just think that a guard, okay, I agree he could probably get in that 1 or 2 deep, but I don't think Harper will be quite ready yet to
I don't
jump
think
in
Harper
there.
will be. I think he plays special teams next year.
And I don't think who's the dude
Lucas.
from Florida? Lucas. I don't think Lucas will be quite ready either. Because I don't think he's as technical as a guard. Because the guard is one of the most, he's super technical and
he's more technical. I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but
You're good.
he's more technical, or he's not as technical, but he's got better physical tools to start with. I mean, he's a much bigger, longer guy, and I think that I would give quickness the edge to Agard there, but I would say that Lucas is being tested daily by guys that are going to have NFL speed, and that's going to really give him a leg up compared to most guys coming into their freshman year of college.
I mean, but it's more than just individual names, right? It's the collection of talents.
Yeah.
It's also Snowden last year. He could take a big jump. Like there's ballers in that secondary that are coming in. Let's get to some of these comments, guys. Let's go through some of these not quick, but not Justin length answers. I love Justin, man. Justin's the best. This is from Comment on Clink. Guys, would 8-4 be a failure this year as far as you're concerned? So this is the full comment. USA Today predicted Iowa wins the West 9-3. Wisconsin, Minnesota tie for second at 8-4. Is yes or no with a little bit of a sentence there? Is 8-4 a failure this year?
Yeah, there's not 4 games we should lose this year. I don't think that there's 4 games on our schedule that you can point to and be like, yeah, we're losing that game. There's 2, maybe, in my opinion. 1 for sure, 2 that you could look at and say that's a loss. But we shouldn't lose 4 games this year.
If we're going to go 8-4, that means that the offense is probably worse than we're expecting, which is going to be a disappointment in its own right. Because honestly, if you look at our schedule, we should be able to outscore every team not named Ohio State, because there's not a lot of good offenses. And after watching the abomination that was Minnesota and Nebraska last night, 20 points might win that game for us. Yeah. So we should be able to beat pretty much everybody. The only teams that should really challenge potentially are Purdue and Illinois, if they have some depth. Now, I'm not saying that those 2 teams can't get better. It's possible that they will, but they've got a long way to go. There's not a lot of explosiveness on either of those teams, and I'm not sure how you fix that necessarily.
Justin?
You don't in season.
Yeah.
Justin, I'm going to apologize. I was wrong about Sims. He can't throw a ball. He can't throw a ball to save his life. I like what he does with his legs because, honestly, Minnesota couldn't stop it if they just ran QB blast the whole game.
Oh, yeah. No, I was talking about they should have been Tommy Frazier. Like, just go out there and run triple option with him. Like, you guys,
he has the IQ of my sister. It's he doesn't know how to throw a ball.
They score at least 24 points if they would have run triple option last night.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they couldn't stop Sims running the football. And the misdirection would have been a problem.
When we did our quarterback preview, like, what did we say? And Justin, you and I were in lockstep on this. We're like, this dude can't throw. Mm-hmm. Like, he can't throw the ball, which is kind of important as a quarterback in 2023. Guys, 8-4 to me is a disappointment. I agree with Commandant on this and it's exactly what Cannon said. There's not 4 teams on the schedule that are more talented than Wisconsin, which means if you lose 4 games, you play down to certain teams. Yeah. So to me, 8-4 actually is a disappointment this year. Let's keep going here. This is one of the ones that I thought was interesting. This is from Bird Dogger. This is something I talked about. I would be stoked if we got out of this with minimal penalties, no timeouts wasted, no procedural issues, no kind of limit the false starts, limit the drops, limit the miscommunications on the route tree. Like, that's a big thing I'm looking for here with all these new pieces. Like, how is it executed?
I'm going to go out right away and say be prepared to be disappointed, because I will guarantee you, with us running at pace, we are going to have some penalties. And
yes.
Luke Fickell's teams have traditionally been kind of sloppy with penalties. Now, the question is can you avoid the big ones that are the problem ones, the 10-yard holding, the 15-yard, face mask or whatever type penalties that absolutely destroy drives. That's the type of stuff that they have to avoid. I think that they can, for the most part, avoid that stuff. And I think the beauty of having an explosive offense is you have a little bit more room for error. If you need to grab a 15-yard pass play, it's more likely than the previous Wisconsin offenses where if you got a 5-yard penalty, you were just crippled because it basically took the running game off the table, which was your strength.
I wouldn't surprise me if our most called penalty this year is going to be holding. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of our offensive linemen are bigger and were mainly recruited to run the ball. That's what they were made for. They're a lot bigger. So I don't know if transitioning to passing a lot more will affect them pass block and cause them to get a lot more holding calls. But if I had to go out on a limb and put my money on it, I would say holding would be the one penalty that I think is going to be most called for us.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be false starts.
Yeah.
It's going to be guys getting mentally tired and fatigued and getting a little sloppy.
An offensive lineman just falling over after a quick drive. Tanner Bordelini just collapsing.
Billy Bob or his name was.
I can't wait. I just can't wait. Let's get some more of these comments in here. There was a couple questions, and I've seen it in several spots talking about Mertz. This came to us on Twitter from Blur, and he said, did Florida do research at all before getting Mertz? My God, probably the worst 4-year starter in college football history. Not the worst 4-year starter in college football history.
All right. I have
pump the brakes there. But the valid point, did Florida fans expect anything different after seeing multiple years of Mertz at Wisconsin? And Wisconsin didn't handle him right. We don't need to rehash the whole thing, but there's blame on both sides here.
I have a very hot take about this because I argued with somebody in the group in the Discord about this. Mertz didn't have a bad game, and I don't know what people are saying he had a terrible game because he didn't. He's not the reason they lost that game. Their defense was atrocious.
Well, he wasn't the reason that he lost a lot of Wisconsin games, though, either. He just wasn't also the reason that they won. It wasn't like he did a lot of plus. That's been kind of one of the low-key issues with him is that he doesn't do a lot of things for you to win games. So he's kind of very meh as a quarterback, and it's that's
exactly what he is. Meh.
It's like you look at it.
Terrible.
That was what I was arguing is that they're trying to say he had a terrible game. He didn't have a terrible game. You can't sit here and say he had a bad game because he didn't. I'm not saying he had a great or an exceptional game, but you can't say he had a bad game.
You were arguing with Ryan, weren't you? You and Ryan were fourth. Yes, I love Ryan. I didn't see the game, so I can't comment on Mertz. I literally didn't watch a minute of that. I watched Minnesota, Nebraska.
Yeah, honestly, I thought the things that were issues for him were going to be every bit the issue with Florida, and it wasn't surprising to me that he didn't have a great first game because I just think it's no disrespect to him, and I wish the kid would have some luck. But I just think the things that he struggles with are the things that are what make a good quarterback good. And if that's the problem is he's not the most poised guy when things start to break down. His decision-making, he tends to get tunnel vision when things aren't working quite right. And he gets really antsy and really anxious when things aren't going right. And that's like the worst case scenario of things you can have happen for you. We see it happen all the time in the NFL with guys who could do it in college. And I think that's what people just don't seem to get because it's less obvious in the college game. But the same thing happens. It happens to a lot of 4-star quarterbacks. We just never see them play because they have 5 guys on the roster that they never have to get them out there. But the issue is when you go from high school where nobody has a pass rush to college where everybody has at least some semblance of a pass rush, it's a completely different game for these kids.
All right, let's bang some of these comments out here. Braelon, this is from Mike. Braelon going for 200 tomorrow, guys. Pass or track? Wait, yes or no? I'm gonna say no. I don't think he gets 200.
I'm gonna pass as well.
I think he could, but I think he's much like Mordecai. I don't think he's gonna be in the fourth a whole lot. So I'm gonna pass on that one.
I could see both, but I only think he's gonna get like 15, 16 touches. Like after we start passing the ball, I don't think we're gonna stop passing the ball.
Yeah, I think that'll be the first position that we start to sub. I think that it's going to be early second half. We may even start with Acker and
Yakimelli
to get them seasoned, because they badly need to get some reps of live game carries.
And you also badly need to not give Braelon Allen useless carries where he's going to.
If you're up 35-7, there is no reason for him to be in the game. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get unnecessary wear and tear.
They did that last year. They did that last year with Braelon in unnecessary games. They kept giving him the friggin' ball.
Ohio State, he had that huge broke-off run, and it's like,
job. I'm like, this is useless.
This is a moral victory.
Oh, useless. Bo Dragon hoping for a quarterback controversy. Hopefully Locke is firing darts by the third quarter. We need a quarterback controversy. We don't need that this year, Bo.
Nobody needs the experience, so I'd love to see him throw some darts out there.
Let's see. Keep going here. We got some more comments. This one, Justin, there was a comment. We talked about you on defense. Someone came out and said you're too short for a Fickell defensive back. You're going to have to play linebacker. I'm
not too short.
Oh, Rajiv is too short.
Yeah, Rajiv is too short. I'm prototypical, but if I get beat off the line, it's done.
Comment on Justin would lay the wood on any receiver going to his area. That is true. You would be like Caputo in the middle of the field there.
Oh, yeah. I would just be leveling guys. That would be like, this is the only way I can cover you is if I tackle you.
All right, we're going to finish up here, guys. I want everybody in the chat, throw your hot takes for tomorrow's game in the chat. If one of them comes true, we're going to pick one. I'll have Justin and Cannon help me pick one out. If it comes true, we'll send you a gift for tomorrow. So throw your hot takes, but it got to be a hot take. It can't be like Braelon goes for over 100. Throw your hot takes in the chat. We'll put them up on the show right now. We'll reward somebody for a correct hot take in tomorrow's game. While you're doing that, we want to talk about something we're doing. Justin is going to be involved in this. Badger Notes, that really good community that Dylan helped get off the ground. Locked On. We're getting together. We're using the playback stream. So you're able to come into our playback stream, which is kind of like an electronic, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, but basically like a virtual bar. Yep. You can come together and watch the game together. The feed is synced, so everybody has the exact same feed, so nobody's a little ahead of the other one. You can chat, you can talk. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to watch a Badger game if you can't be in the stadium.
Think of it kind of like what we're doing right now, except with a game feed going on and a lot less. There's not really like a specific point to anything. It's mostly just talking about what's going on and discussing, basic things like you would with your friends watching a game.
Will this be on the Discord?
I'll put the link.
I've dropped a couple of tweets in there with the link on it.
Okay.
But it should be in there if you go in the Badgers one.
Yeah, we'll tweet out the link again as well. You do
tomorrow. I will right before the game.
Okay, it is free. So just so everybody knows, it's free. You just have to log in the first time and put in whatever your streaming service is, whatever you use for cable. Like if it's DirecTV, YouTube TV, Hulu, you sign in just like you would sign in to those sites, and then you come into to the playback with us, and we watch the game together and we talk about it while we eat wings and drink beer. I put the tweet out there. I was like, hey, we're going to do this playback thing this year. It's going to be really fun. We had a lot of fun doing it last year. And someone's like, why don't you just go to the stadium? I'm like, I don't know, man. And I can't make every game. Why don't I?
No, exactly. You live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, are we just going to sit here and like anyone that's a fan that doesn't go to the games isn't a fan? I don't really understand the point of that, because the stadium only holds what, 78,000?
Yeah.
There's what, probably a few million Badger fans out there. I feel comfortable in saying that not everyone's going to fit in the stadium. So let's just stop shaming the fact that we're not all dropping 10 grand on tickets every year or whatever it is.
There's a lot of ways to watch and enjoy a game. Alien Space says Jeff Sims is a worse Graham Mertz. Yeah, from a throwing standpoint, he is. Yeah.
But he brings so much more athletically than Graham Mertz does.
Oh yeah. There's some things they can do with him to minimize his inability to be a true passer. Like you can run a lot. It's gonna lack explosion. I mean, it's basically what Nebraska did with Martinez when they had him.
But Martinez,
the first Martinez,
than Sims.
Yes, he was faster for sure. But I think Sims has a little more power to him.
Oh yeah. Victor Jones says, I want to see us get up big so we can put the younger guys in the fourth. All right, let's get some of these hot takes. CJ Williams will have 8+ receptions. Guys, you tell me if this qualifies as a hot take or not. That one to me is yes.
That one's a yes. Okay. I'll be shocked if he gets over 5. But he could have some nice catches in that 5.
That is super hot and spicy. Victor, you are in the hot takes qualification. If he gets more than 8+, you'll get a prize sent your way. Badger says Badgers by 40. I don't know. Is that a hot take? That doesn't feel hot enough to me.
I feel like there's like if we're going to bust this down by percentages, there's like probably a 20% chance that they can win by 40. There's like a mostly probably by about 25 to 35 range, and then probably the big chunk that's slightly beneath that. So there's a reasonable chance they could do it. They just have to get hot.
Let's go. Matthew Anderson. Jackson goes for 75 yards.
I actually think that would be. I think I would like to see him get 40. If you have 40, it would be a good day for him.
Corey has Pauling 150 plus yards receiving.
Out of the slot, that would be impressive. That would be a big day.
Cannon, what do you think? Cannon's muted.
You're muted.
Cannon is blown away by this hot take. He can't even talk. Cannon's still muted. Listen, I'm going to read his lips. He said yes.
Do you have him muted?
I don't have him muted. Cannon's muted.
I'm just making sure.
It's that your youthful exuberance has somehow muted yourself. I don't know what it is.
You can smile at the camera all you want. It's not going to change the fact we can't hear you.
I would think that's a hot take. I think Pauling 150 plus is
that's definitely a hot take.
Dylan says Mordecai with a rushing touchdown. I like that.
I think if we took a look at it probably for last year with SMU, I bet you didn't have over 3 or 4. So I think that would probably be unexpected.
Oh, here's a good one here. Vacos 50-plus yard field goal from Logan Couch.
I think so, because if he's kicking a 50-yarder, then I'm going to wonder what happened on that drive.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that one. James Thompson, 3 sacks tomorrow.
That's a hot take. I would love to see him get 1+. If he did that, I think 1+ would be a hot take.
I hope he gets 3 this year. Like, I don't know where I'm sorry. Like, I
agree. I don't disagree with you. Like, if I was going to put a number on him, what's a good season? I would say 4 is probably a good season for him.
So, I mean, Mike, if he gets 3 tomorrow, you are absolutely getting something, because that is a hot, spicy take. I just don't know. And Cannon just fell off the map here, so we'll just go me and Dustin. I just don't see the pass rush this year that everybody seems to, but I would love to be wrong. Let's go here.
There's no such thing, Bo Dragon, as too many cheese curds. He said hot takes are like
Bo, man. Bo is so salty. Bo, are you? I don't even know if you're optimistic with football anymore. Because you don't like Mordecai. I don't know what you're hanging your hat on anymore, Bo. How about this one? Justin, this is up your alley. Bird Dog said Bryson Green 175 and 3. Yeah,
that would definitely be a hot take. I think a good game for him, if he has a really nice game tomorrow, would be like 110 and 1. So if he gets to that point, then that's a huge game. And that'd be a heck of a coming out party.
What if I dropped it? Because the 3 touchdowns is so hard, right? But what if I said it 175 and 1? I mean, that's a great.
Well, here's a question for you. I know we're getting. What do you think is the over/under on touchdowns for Mordecai tomorrow?
I would say 2.5 is the over/under.
I think it should be at least 3.5. Because I think that if this offense is working, we're going to pass more closer to the goal line. Sure. If we look at it this way: if we score 40+, and he only has 2 touchdowns, it's going to be a really weird game, given this type of offense.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I'm probably underselling it. But if we score 40+,
we're so beaten down with quarterback play.
I'm saying, imagine though, if we score 40, let's say he gets 2 touchdowns, that's 14. Braelon gets a touchdown or 2, potentially up to 28. Give Malusi 1 on the ground, you're 35. Then Locke comes in and gets 1, you're at 42. I don't know.
That's possible.
I think you're probably right. I think I did undersell it. If I went 3, I would call it a push, and I would say that works.
I'm looking for 4 from him tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that he's going to get that. Like I would like to see him get 3.
Let's see what else we got here. Bo Dragon calls these lukewarm takes.
What? How far do they need to go, Bo Dragon? Do they need to drop a 70 bomb on somebody and be like, all right, that's a hot take now?
Bryson Green 3 touchdowns, and he's like, nah, lukewarm. What do you want?
Bryson Green needs to take Al Bundy's record and just wash it from the books.
Oh man, I love it. There's Jake. There's our good buddy Jake. What's up, my friend? Jake's awesome. I love this take. Greg Linscomb says, hot take, I'll drink more beers than Buffalo scores points. So I mean, Buffalo's gonna put up 13.
Drop Williams' comment on there.
Hold on one second. How many points do you think Buffalo's gonna score? Because Greg is going to drink more beer.
I have him at 10.
Okay. All right, where's Williams?
Why does Justin like Mordecai so much? It's not that I love Mordecai, but if you look at his track record in playing against teams of this caliber, 3 to 4 touchdowns is a pretty on point amount of production for him. And that's with likely less weapons than he's going to have at Wisconsin. I don't know why people are so down on him. Like, does the spring game really make people look at him as so bad? Didn't he have like 3 touchdown passes and 2 picks against TCU?
Yeah,
Who was in like, it wasn't an awful game. He could have been better, but he wasn't awful in that game.
I put up the numbers that he and JJ McCarthy both against TCU. They're pretty similar. Like, for everyone that talks about, well, just wait until Mordecai plays good competition. Well, every quarterback, here's a newsflash. Every quarterback plays worse against good competition.
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy played worse against TCU as well. Like, that's not a referendum on Tanner Mordecai. What I would say though is, I do think there are some questions about his overall decision making.
Yeah.
So I think you could be a little down there potentially. I don't think he's a great athlete, but I think he's a good athlete. So
if I was coming out and saying that he's dropping 3 touchdown passes on Iowa, then yeah, then 100%, I think people could call me out and say, like, dude, that's a pretty darn good game for him. And I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Like, unless he comes out and is just gangbusters for the first 5 weeks of the season going into that game, there's nothing that's going to make me have that type of projection for him for that game.
And I think it is some spring game stuff, because Bo came in and said, essentially, the spring game left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I just don't care about the spring game. Yeah. I just don't think it. And Jake I know jumps in and says the same thing. Spring game means nothing. I don't think it means nothing, but in the grand picture, it's just one more practice. And
we have
mean a ton.
We as fans have no idea how to evaluate what we saw in that game. And that's the problem with it, because we have no idea what Phil Longo actually wanted in those situations. And we have no idea what the goal was actually on the plays to what they were trying to accomplish. So it's really hard to look at it and be like, yeah, everything was fault. Plus, not all those picks were his fault. I mean, 2 of them were boneheaded plays by the receivers.
That's true. Nathan Hammond says Braelon gets 1 receiving and 1 rushing touchdown.
That could happen for sure.
I can see that. Let's see if we have any other big ones here. Commandant asks, who leads in catches? Who gets the most receiving yards? I know Justin won't be picking DK because Justin hates DK.
No, he could definitely have the best game out of the receivers against Buffalo. I need to see him, like I said, do it against Iowa, Ohio State, and everybody else. I need him to make a big play in a game against an opponent that we need him to make a big play. Right now, we've seen Bryson Green do it against top talent. And we can say whatever we want to get about Texas, but those are 4 stars that he's across the field from.
They're not good 4 stars though, right?
I mean, we can argue that too. I will don't disagree, but from a physical tool standpoint, those guys are athletes that are across the field from him.
So answer the commandant's question though quickly. Who does lead the team in?
I would say Pauling's going to probably lead it in catches. I'll go Green in yards, and yeah.
I have both reasonable. I'm gonna go Pauling and DK in receptions yards respectively. But certainly, listen, if Green leads in 1 or both, it wouldn't shock anybody for sure. Let's see. Mike says Ashcraft gets first team reps tomorrow. My real hot take. I could absolutely see that happening.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean you start in the first team, but at some point, I bet you Ashcraft.
He is going to be in there for a series. I mean, he's in the 2 deep, and he's the bigger receiving threat. They're going to want to get his feet wet.
Yeah, this is an interesting one from William, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name, my friend. I am sorry about that. Wojcicki. But he said, how good could Mordecai be if he's not NFL ready after 5 years? For me, there's a difference between, like, I care how good they are in college. For the sake of this team right now, that's what I care more about than how NFL ready he is.
The world is littered with quarterbacks that had 25 to 35 touchdown passes that weren't NFL guys. There just are a bunch of them that just didn't have the physical tools or didn't necessarily have the mental capability to be able to do it when the physical tools of the defense take an uptick. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you cap out in college at being a really good college quarterback, but you don't have the talent to be a great pro quarterback, so what? You were still better at quarterback than roughly 99.5% of the world.
Yeah. And I would also point out, this is the Wisconsin Badgers Locked On channel. It's not the NFL Draft Locked On channel, right? Like, I care what he does.
Like Ryan and I have talked ad nauseum about the fact that we think he's round 5 through 7 if he has a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Like his best case scenario is he goes out and is like in the Heisman conversation, probably puts himself into maybe 3rd or 4th round, probably closer to 4th.
Just let's wrap this up here. Definitely look for the playback link. We'll tweet that out as well. You can use that to join up with Justin. I think I'll be in there as well. We'll watch the game together and just continue to build the community. Because again, that's what this whole show is about. It's building the community. That's what the Discord's about. By the way, be on the lookout for something else really exciting coming that's going to help us build that. Something I'm excited about. I just can't quite announce it yet. So that's coming up as well. Game tomorrow. Y'all are amazing. On Wisconsin. Justin, the brainchild behind the Bucky Cast, super fan over there. Let's go. Justin, what's your final score prediction? Give it to me.
42-10.
42-10. I'm going to say 38-13. I
You
think
just need to get under the spread.
I don't feel like it's so many points for an
Ryan on FanDuel. He's going to hedge. I'll put money on it that he hedges.
I will end up betting on the Badgers to cover, I'm sure of it. But anyway, on Wisconsin, game tomorrow. Thank y'all for helping us do this. And let's get it done. Oh, there will be a reaction show. Just like last year, after every game this year, come hell or high water, I'll be there. Probably with Justin and Rasheed if they're willing. And we'll talk about what happened. On Wisconsin, and let's go.